Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour. With the news, I'm Shifarao Lako, and happy Adwa Victory Day to all the celebrants. I'll be right back. Now, Ethiopians are vibrantly celebrating the 127th victory of Adwa across the nation with assorted events. The celebration of the 127th Adwa victory has kicked off in the vicinity of the Emperor Menelik Square at the central part of Addis Ababa. The President of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Sahle-Work Zewde, and the President of the Ancient Ethiopian Patriots Association, Liji Daniel Jote Masfin, have attended the celebration at the Masqal Square. Thousands of residents of Addis Ababa, patriots, public representatives, and invited guests are participating in the historic event, which is taking place at Emperor Menelik Square, Masqal Square, and Adwa Bridge in the capital. The wreath-laying ceremony has also been conducted at the Menelik Square, where thousands gathered to mark the Victory Day, and major commemorative event is being held at the Masqal Square in participation of government officials, members of the National Defense Forces, and police, as well as thousands of residents. The victory is the outcome of a battle Ethiopians fought against the invading Italian colonial army in 1896. On the Battle of Adwa, Ethiopians, under the leadership of Emperor Menelik II and Empress Taitu, won a historic victory against the Italian colonial forces, inspiring Africans and other peoples of the world who were under the yoke of colonialism to fight for their freedom and independence. Members of the diplomatic communities, including ambassadors of various countries and military attaches from the embassies based in Addis Ababa, are also in attendance of the ceremony at the Masqal Square. Ethiopians across the nation have also started celebrating the victory of Adwa with assorted events. Well, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stay on this historic victory of Adwa, and my colleague Daniel Kassaun has been attending the celebration at the Masqal Square, and he's going to tell us some of his observations. Thank you, Daniel, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell me the celebration? What was it like? What was the vibe? Tell me, please.
Today is especially for Ethiopians. They celebrate
Absolutely.
the 127th anniversary of the victory of Adwa, in which Ethiopian patriots who gathered from all walks of life marched to Adwa,
Right.
and culminated and brought the demise of the fascist Italian invasion 127 years back. And today in Addis Ababa, as you mentioned it in the news, the celebration was in Menelik Square and also then Adwa Bridge. And I was in the Masqal Square celebration, and it was very nice, and guest of honor for the event was President Sahle-Work Zewde of Ethiopia. In the Masqal Square, in the Menelik Square, we watched her laying a wreath at the statue of Menelik II, along with the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia. And this victory is Ethiopian victory, but it is also the victory of all the oppressed and the black people.
Right.
We can say that it is the history of the world, but it's made in Ethiopia. It's the history of Africa, it's made in Ethiopia. So this history is magnificent and honorable event for Ethiopians, and the guest of honors at the Masqal Square, the President and Field Marshal Burhanu Jula and other senior government officials have extended their appreciation in their speech, and a minute of silence was paid there. Everybody was expecting Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, Commander-in-Chief of the Ethiopian Defense Force. He was not there. For sure, it's maybe due to tight schedule he's having. He was supposed to be there. We have seen the parade of the ground force, the air force, the navy, and the federal police and the special forces. And also we have seen the air forces showing their play. And my expectation was Prime Minister to be there, but not, he was not there. As Commander-in-Chief of the Ethiopian Army, he was expected, but tight schedule. Everybody has to understand that.
Yeah.
For sure, he has tight schedule, and he missed this event. The guest of honors, President Saleh and Culture and Sport Minister, also they have extended their speech, and all the speech from the Field Marshal Burhanu Jula, the President, and the others, they have commonalities. They have remembered what the forefathers and mothers of Ethiopians have done, irrespective of their differences, irrespective of the difference in religion, culture, age, and other, even social strata.
Right.
Lots of differences, they do exist. We can't find common things in a given nation. There are differences. Irrespective of their differences in various issues, they have come together in order to fight the common enemy, having a common goal. And their effort bear fruit, and the next generation after them, until now, and coming generations will be proud of this history.
Right.
It's a proud for Ethiopian. It's a source of proudness for Africans and other black people. It's the fighting between black and white. We have seen that the white supremacy got an end due to the Battle of Adwa. That was a great event, and we take lots of lessons from this event. The current generation of Ethiopia has to learn a lot from this victory.
Definitely, yes.
How they have done it. It was principled. Everybody was participating,
right,
irrespective of their differences. Even most of Ethiopian women were there, providing basic supplies for the fighters and boosting their morale. And also participating in the fighting, there were Ethiopian heroines. So this generation has to learn a lot from that. The victory of Adwa is not the only victory Ethiopia has done it. We can mention Ababa Bikila, who ran barefoot in Rome and made history for Africa.
Right.
We can mention Daraartu Tulluu. 30 years back, she made history for Africans, the first woman in winning the running in Barcelona. This generation is building the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the biggest of this continent.
Right.
So Ethiopians in different times are making history. Even we can mention the recent history of sealing plantations.
Right.
How much was planned and how much was achieved. The achievement surpassed the plan. Over 25 billion seedlings have been planted in this country.
Right.
And this is also a history of Ethiopia, and Ethiopians will continue. If they come together, they can make lots of history for their country.
So that's a message. Ethiopians unanimously should make history should continue being united against foreign oppressors. Daniel, thank you so much for that update.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ethiopians don't celebrate Independence Day, rather Victory Day. On March 1, 1896, history was made. A poorly equipped traditional Ethiopian army composing of Ethiopians mobilized from youth, of army, of peasants, artisans, women and volunteers from all walks of life and ethnicity marched to Adwa to repel Italian aggressor. The victory of Adwa symbolizes the first crushing defeat of a European power by African forces during the colonial era. It was an event that changed the course of black history across Africa and around the world. The victory of Adwa immediately ignited global resistance against colonialism in black Africa and anti-colonial movements across the globe. This is Meskel Square in the heart of Addis Ababa, one of the spots where the day is marked with pomp and fanfare. ETV English brings you the latest on Adwa and a host of other events this March. Keep it locked.
Welcome back. You're still watching Addis News Hour. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed reiterates that Ethiopians celebrate the victory of Adwa for various reasons. In his statement for the 127th Adwa Victory Day, Prime Minister Abiy recalled that this historic victory was achieved by blood, sweat, sacrifices of Ethiopians from every corner of the country. The Premier further stated that putting internal issues aside, one needs to consider what the patriots paid in the ultimate sacrifices collectively to sustain indigenous identities, culture, freedom, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Ethiopia. The victory of Adwa is a precious gift from the patriots to generations. Hence, we shall celebrate and protect it like a precious diamond. It is a spine that binds us together, the Prime Minister underscored. He urges the current crop of generation to emulate the heroism of their ancestors by standing tall against local or foreign menaces that are conspiring to damage the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ethiopia. According to Prime Minister Abiy, the victory of Adwa is an eternal pride for Ethiopians. It is a treasure passed on from the patriotic ancestors for every generation to establish peace, development, harmony, unity, perseverance, heroism, dignity, and freedom. The Prime Minister stressed the need to always remember the wisdom and collaboration of four actors for the achievement of one of the greatest victories of all time, such as the leaders, the army, reserves, and the people in general. He went on to recall that Emperor Menelik II and Etegei Taitu mobilized, encouraged, and led the Ethiopian army wisely despite several natural and man-made constraints, such as famine and pandemic diseases. Other leaders of the army, the people, and local provinces chiefs also played an integral role during the quest to maintain the ultimate national unity, freedom, and sovereignty. Therefore, the current generation must learn from such national devotion, solidarity, and patriotism, he underlined. Today's Ethiopia wants those of four types of heroes and heroines to stand together for one goal: leaders, warriors, defenders, and the ultimate solidarity of the people at large, the Prime Minister noted. And moving on, historians say the landslide victory of Adwa is not only to galvanize Ethiopians, but also black people across the world for freedom. They also underscore that the victory, beyond defeating Italy, rather it smashed the Berlin Conference constitution and policies that were bent on scrambling Africa. Goshu Melissa reports.
A decade before the Battle of Adwa, European powers had decided the fate of Ethiopia. At the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, 14 European countries divided Africa among themselves. However, the black boxes from all walks of life fought and victorious the enemy who came to humiliate Ethiopia. Talking to ETV, a historian said the landslide Adwa victory has not only galvanized Ethiopians, but also black people across the globe for freedom.
Adwa was historic. What made it historic? It was historic because it's not just simply the Ethiopians defeating the Italians, but it was about African folks, black folks defeating white folks, defeating Europeans, because Europeans have already assumed that they are superior. That would galvanize not just simply Ethiopians, it galvanizes all people, or everybody who is under colonialism. Okay? Anybody who's oppressed or exploited by Europeans would kind of see that not only a victory for Ethiopians, but a victory for all oppressed people. So that's what gives it a foundation for Pan-Africanism. It becomes a real foundation for Pan-Africanism. And as a foundation, it is a kind of reference point that you will always have.
Researcher on Africa and Middle East affairs Hassan Kasisai said the victory is beyond defeating Italy. It rather smashed the Berlin Conference constitution and policies that were supposed to scrambling Africa further.
We defeat Italians, but the Adwa victory is more than defeat Italians. It is defeating and crushed the Berlin Conference constitution and many policies, because that's the base. African scramble is started from Berlin Conference, and the Ethiopians gave to Italians. So the Italians came to invade Ethiopia, so based on Berlin Conference. So we demolish the Berlin Conference constitution.
Historian Ayele Bekri, for his part, expounded that Adwa is a turning point in human history to show progress and spirit of capability.
Yes, it was a turning point. It was a turning point in a sense that we've showed the way we should go, the way we should make progress, the way we build our economy, the way we build our politics, the way we strengthen our society. All that, the model is Adwa. You see, Adwa becomes a model.
The researcher highlighted that Ethiopians achieved the monumental victory with wise leadership and unity.
Adwa victory is a great achievement for all this community, and the main group is Ethiopians, especially the leader, the command of Emperor Minilik and Queen Taitu, and they are the major part of the Adwa victory, and also their generals as well. And the Adwa victory is still shining with all the black community.
Ethiopia is to mark the 127th anniversary of Adwa victory on March 2 with various assortments.
Back, we're still staying on this landslide victory of Adwa. Ethiopians at home, according to Ambassador Esheti Etlaun at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Jonas Adaye at the Addis Ababa University, should celebrate Adwa's victory in a colorful manner to demonstrate true patriotism to the rest of the world as an emblem of international freedom and defiance to colonialism. The two high-ranking government officials also call upon the youth across the nation the lofty goals of patriots and the values for which they had made sacrifices to entrust an independent country to the young generation that had to be secured and made undying by the concerted efforts of the youth. Kazaun Chani reports.
Ethiopia has completed all the necessary preparations to commemorate the victory of Adwa, during which hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians, regardless of their differences, stood as one and gave their lives to protect the nation's sovereignty. Ethiopians are honoring the brave forefathers and foremothers who made them live today in peace, freedom and dignity. March 1896 will go down in history as the month when the unthinkable occurred, the unexpected happened. More should have been written or said about Adwa's victory in history than has actually been done. The young researchers must delve deeply into the many components of this significant accomplishment. BBC English approached high-ranking government officials who stated that there are so many stories to be told about all of the protagonists of this massive Adwa victory that this endeavor requires every Ethiopian dig into it and record it.
The spirit of Adwa is very deep. It is a symbolism and the spirit of independence, equality, of people of all colors, all nations, all corners of the world. That thought has never been in the thinking of many before the victory of Adwa. So the type of celebrations that we are organizing need to reflect that. And I'm sure those who are responsible will take care of that.
Adwa is a paradigm shift in the world history where the black commanding over the white supremacy, at the same time making history and heralding that the black too have a mind, have muscle, have strategies. They can also determine, map, and at the same time create their own future. So that being the case, because this is a uniting factor of all black race together, the government, the public, the media must also bring people together on a common cause. And that common cause is, to be honest, a united Ethiopia on diversity basis.
The youth had to follow in the footsteps of patriots, repeat the invaluable lessons in the areas of hard work and poverty alleviation, and pass down the golden deeds of their forefathers to the next generation. The high-ranking government officials calling upon a youth to further strive to maintain peace and the development of the country and a spirit of mutual respect, trust and patriotism toward each other. They stated that such a legacy has to be bolstered for the nation's image and international arena.
Determination, sacrifice, independence doesn't come without cost. They paid their life and blood. Ours is only to pay our sweets and to lift our country, to maintain our pride. This pride cannot be there without economic independence. We can't be an island in the global economic system, but we have to compete and earn our legitimate place in the economic space, in technological, in political and diplomatic activities also. So the young generation needs to believe in unity of the country and also in competence.
Let's come together, the youth particularly. You are responsible for tomorrow's Ethiopia. It is your country, you are the leaders, you are another Menelik, you are another Abanefso, Dinagde. So therefore you are responsible. You have to stand up now. The time has come. Your fathers, your mothers' victory must be once again shining around the world, and that's how you can create brighter, better future.
They also emphasized that if it hadn't been for the sacrifice Ethiopian forefathers and foremothers made for liberty and sovereignty, it would have been quite difficult to talk about working together, continental integration, economic and political sovereignty under the umbrella of such a monumentous and contemporary African project.
Military attaches residing in Addis Ababa say the Battle of Adwa, which ended with the ever-shining victory of Ethiopians in 1896, symbolizes African unity and Pan-Africanism. The Ethiopian army performed the unthinkable by defeating the advancing Italian force, according to the military attaches, and successfully defended its sovereignty. The Adwa victory, meanwhile, inspired Africans to come together and fight for their liberation from colonial rule. Colonel Rufai Omar Meiriga, the National Defense Attaché, told the Ethiopian news agency that the victory obtained by the United Ethiopians during the Battle of Adwa is a representation of African unity. Have a listen to this.
Ethiopia is a symbol of African unity, and that's the depiction of the Adwa victory. So that one, all African countries, they will continue to look at Ethiopia as the symbol of African unity, and we hope with the commemoration of Adwa victory, the Africans will continue to unite against all form of colonization. Most of our Africans, they will continue to look at the victory as a symbol of unity and symbol of freedom.
South African Defense Attaché Colonel Goodman Hakwana says on his part that the Battle of Adwa happened immediately after the Berlin Conference, which was referred to as the Scramble for Africa. He says that Ethiopians made a firm stance and said we are not to be colonized, and defeated the invading Italian forces. Have a listen to this.
And that became a very much motivation for the Africans that we can do. We can do. It became a motivation, and we would recall then thereafter there was then a struggle by Africans throughout the African continent for the liberation from the...
Let me remind you of the top stories before we go. The 127th Adwa victory celebration kicks off in various places of Addis Ababa and across the nation. Well, with that, we come to the end of today's news. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.